Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, when he ventured to Horeb, the mountain of God. In the far side of the wilderness, a remarkable sight awaited him, a bush ablaze with fire but not consumed. Have you ever encountered something so extraordinary that it compelled you to take a closer look? As Moses approached, God called out from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." His reply was simple yet profound, "Here I am." God instructed him to remove his sandals, declaring that he stood on holy ground. This moment emphasizes the holiness of God and the reverence we must show in his presence. God introduced himself, stating, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." Moses' reaction was one of fear, hiding his face from God. Are we aware of the reverence required when we approach the divine? The Lord revealed his awareness of the Israelites' suffering in Egypt, saying he had seen their affliction and heard their cries. "I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians," he proclaimed. God committed to bringing them to a land flowing with milk and honey, an image we often associate with blessing and prosperity. When God commanded Moses to confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses hesitated. He asked, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh?" This prompts us to reflect. How often do we feel inadequate when faced with a daunting task? God reassured him, stating, "I will surely be with you." What comfort does that offer us today in every challenge we face? God provided a sign. When Moses led the people out of Egypt, they would worship him at that very mountain. When Moses questioned God about his name, God replied, "I am who I am." This profound declaration speaks to his eternal and unchanging nature. When we encounter uncertainty, remember that the great I Am is with us. God instructed Moses to gather the elders of Israel and tell them of his promise. He assured Moses that the elders would listen, and together they would approach Pharaoh, asking for a 3-day journey to worship the Lord. The significance of assembly and unity in faith cannot be overstated. God warned Moses that Pharaoh would not let them go unless compelled by a mighty hand. He promised to perform wonders in Egypt, demonstrating his power to liberate his people. Reflect on the power of miracles and how they serve as affirmations of faith. Moses expressed concern that the Israelites would not believe him. God responded by asking, "What is that in your hand?" Moses replied, "A staff." When cast to the ground, it became a snake, and Moses fled. God commanded Moses to take it by the tail, turning it back into a staff. This miraculous sign was intended to affirm God's presence and authority. God instructed Moses to place his hand inside his cloak. When he withdrew it, it was leprous, but returned to normal upon re-entering. God provided a third sign involving water from the Nile turning to blood. These signs were not merely for show, they were to instill faith and demonstrate divine truth. Despite God's signs, Moses remained anxious about his speaking abilities. God reminded him, "Who gives man his mouth?" This is a reminder that our abilities come not from ourselves but from God. Have we ever doubted our capabilities despite being called to a purpose? God appointed Aaron, Moses' brother, to be his spokesperson. Together they would convey God's message, showcasing the importance of partnership in ministry. The mention of the staff underscores the authority given to Moses to perform signs. Moses returned to Jethro to ask permission to return to Egypt, demonstrating respect and humility before his family. God reassured Moses that those who sought his life were dead, allowing him to proceed in peace. As Moses journeyed, he carried the staff of God, a symbol of divine empowerment. The Lord instructed Moses to communicate to Pharaoh that Israel is his firstborn son. This proclamation carried immense weight, emphasizing Israel's chosen status. God warned of judgment should Pharaoh refuse to comply, highlighting the seriousness of disobedience. In an unexpected twist, the Lord confronted Moses along the way, nearly killing him until Zipporah intervened. This moment reveals the complexity of obedience and the relational aspects within families.